Hey everybody, this is So Many Sequels, your book club for movies. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
Today on the show, we enter the final round of Game Night Month and talk about the original Jumanji, the movie that one Letterboxd reviewer called a children's version of a horror movie.
As a kid, the movie delivered a lot of action and a lot of laughs, but as an adult, we really appreciated the surprisingly dark story and the great performance given from the late Robin Williams.
Plus, in the spirit of game night, we jumped into the new Star Wars video game and give some of our initial reactions to it, and whether or not the difficulty level really matters. Spoiler alert, it doesn't.
We've got all that and more on this final Game Night episode of So Many Sequels. Be sure to check us out online at somanysequels.com, where you can subscribe in your favorite podcasting app, and of course, follow us on social media. Without any further ado, enjoy the show.
He has quite enjoyed me playing. He got to watch a little bit today, and he quite enjoyed me playing Star Wars Jedi Survivor because I have fought two creatures in that game, one of which he only describes as monster. He just goes, "A monster!" and he's so excited about the monster. And then I fought something that to him resembles a Triceratops. So he doesn't want me to fight it. He just wants me to watch it from above. Yeah. And I'm like,
you should. Triceratops are a good dinosaur, and they need to be left alone.
I need to get past it, though. He's guarding something.
How's the game?
It's me or him. But he likes me fighting it, too, because he has now discovered what lightsabers are. And so I pulled out one that I wanted at Dave & Buster's years ago and have bestowed it to him.
Excited kid. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
How's the game? How is the game here on Game Night at So Many Sequels? Let's talk about the brand new Star Wars Jedi game.
Yeah, it's a good pickup. It feels very seamless game and everything. They've added a few new things. There's a little bit of with the last game getting used to the combat style for me because it's very timing based, so you kind of have to get used to it. Luckily, they do have a version called they do have difficulty. You can make it easier for yourself. They have story mode. I don't play on story mode, but story mode basically streamlines everything for you, so you can kind of not have to worry about getting killed over and over and over again. But I talked about this when we talked about Ready Player One. I'm a dawdler, so if there's four paths, then the game is like go straight. I'm like, but I'm going to go left, right, and backwards first because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. And so I am like 5 hours in, and I've barely left the first area because I just keep wandering around looking for doors I can't open yet, things that I can, anyway. But yeah, I'm enjoying myself. It's quite fun. I really liked the last game. So
nice. I started playing the last game today.
Yeah.
So I'm very behind in the world of video games. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Just got a little taste of it. I haven't gone too far, but I saw it was on Game Pass, so I said, let's install this sucker. Not too bad.
Yeah, I think, but if you make it to the end, by the end, you'll be, I think, really hooked on the story, the characters, all that.
I did turn on story mode because I'm not good at video games.
I love story mode. I love story mode because I want to know what's going on. I like if it's up to me and I have the time to just wander around a video game world, I'd rather not do that and just actually play the game and like have a reason to play the game until I finish it. And then I feel like, now if I want to play it, then it's just like for fun. Yeah. I do the same thing with like Mortal Kombat even. I like to go into the story mode first, knock that out of the way, so then I can just go knock out people aimlessly.
Sure.
You don't want to be bogged down by your own inability to figure it out. And I totally get that. I think I have it on what would essentially be the normal difficulty. So I've died a couple of times, but I feel like I got a good hang on it so far.
So in the very first level of this first one, you're kind of just like running across a ship to try.
Very cinematic. Yeah. Running across, trying to get away.
It's a lot of it is just to introduce the movement mechanics. I still died like 10 times.
Yeah, I've been there.
Because I'm falling off the wall. I can't grab it. I can't swing from a rope right. So like, I don't need difficulty. It's difficult enough.
Yeah. What level are you on? What level difficulty do you have it set on?
I think there's 5 difficulties, and I think I have it on 3 essentially.
Gotcha.
So there's story mode, and then there's story mode, and then there's easy mode, and then there's like normal, hardest. So I think I'm on like normal. I think I'm on just like standard version.
Do you ever change it? I never change it. I never look at it. Whatever it is, I just play it, and then if it sucks, or more accurately, I suck, then I decide, is it worth changing it, or do I really care about this game?
Now, if you want the deep dive on this, my usual tact is I play. I'll use Halo as an example. I always play on normal first. Well, when I was younger. Now I kind of start on heroic, but I usually play on normal first because I want to experience what the game is, get used to the controls and all that, and be okay, and then after I beat that, upgrade to the next difficulty. Can I do it? Get through that. Then if I manage to pull that off, then I go to the hardest mode just to see how I can do. I've mastered the mechanics. I know the story. I'm not worried about missing out on that. Then I go to that hardest difficulty and try to figure it out. But I never change it mid game. Usually I'm too scared to start too hard, so I usually just start where I think I'll be comfortable. And if I get killed in that, then it's like, okay, well, this game ain't for me. If I can't get through on the difficulty that says for people who are average, I'm okay to stop.
Yeah, I used to start out on the normal default difficulty, and now I just start on easy. And then if it's too easy, if it's so easy that I'm like not enjoying it, I'll turn it up. Yeah. But that really doesn't happen very often.
Honestly, start low and go high, because the whole point of a video game is to find it fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't want. When I was a kid, I remember I would like throw my controller out of anger, and it's just stupid. Why? Just change it. Who cares? Yeah. Nobody's going to ask what level of difficulty they're on, unless they're one of those people who just want to make you feel bad because they did it on the highest level, and you don't want to be friends with them.
Some sort of gatekeeping going on. Well, did you change the difficulty midway through? Games used to do this, so they have achievements, right? And it used to be like if you wanted to, get the achievement for beating it on legendary, you couldn't change it midway through. You couldn't play it on normal the entire way through and then change it to legendary right at the end, like in the settings, change it all so that, you get credit. Now they really don't care. As far as I can tell, for Survivor, I don't think there's even achievements for difficulties. So you can just play it however you want, not be constrained by any sort of, gatekeeping how good you are, so it's pretty good. I'm enjoying myself so far though. And my son is enjoying the animals.
Nice.
That's what matters. Well, speaking of games, it's game night month. Still,
it's a month of game nights. Yes.
Although technically
it's a carryover.
But you know what? I don't give a dang.
We wanted to do an extra. We wanted to put it out to you, our loyal listeners and fans, to give us one more game.
This is the fan that we had to include the fans in the game night. We got to play along with the fans. We had Arch here to talk about Super Mario Bros. You can go back and listen to that review earlier this month. We talked about that, and then this was submitted on by the fans. We gave them a choice of 3 different movies, and I got to tell you what, I'm grateful to our fans, because the 3 movies, or 2 of them, depending on who you ask, were not good, and one of them was good, for sure.
Okay.
We had the original Super Mario Brothers with Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo. The original Dungeons and Dragons with Marlon Wayans from 2000.
Marlon Wayans.
And, who was the other one that you said, David? Jeremy Irons. Jeremy Irons and Marlon Wayans together again in the buddy comedy you needed to see. And then the winner, the fan voted on Jumanji, which is not technically a game-inspired movie, but a movie that inspired a game. And I like that, because before we get into the movie, we haven't talked about this, but I have a decent board game collection. And one of the most popular things going on right now is straight up just turning movies into board games. So I've got the Harry Potter. got the Harry Potter deck building game, but I've also got a Back to the Future board game.
Ooh, neat.
I've got a Jaws
Gotta
board
get
game.
back in time.
I've got a Star Wars board game.
Ooh.
And I was at a store the other day and I saw an American Psycho board game. I've seen the Goonies board game. I mean, they are straight up just taking movies and turning them into the board games. And that, my friends, is a Twitch stream for us.
Oh, yeah. If, can we survive American Psycho or whatever? I don't know what the rules any of these games kind of could be. It makes me think that maybe making a board game is actually a lot easier than it seems. And you can just slap any old theme on one.
As long as your mechanics make sense and you can rip off other people's mechanics and just set it to a theme.
I remember having a Gargoyles board game as a kid. And you got a VHS tape and you put that in and it played. So basically it would play the intro and then you would move. And then if you landed on a certain thing and you throw the card, then you would play a certain feature on the VHS or something like that. It was kind of like a choose your own adventure type VHS tape. Never figured out how to win that thing.
Love
Xanatos always got away.
I also had it. I wish I could find it. I'd also have to find a VHS and that might be difficult.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know where to find a VCR these days.
I know. Could buy one I'll tell you where you could find a VCR in 1995.
Well, yeah.
Where this movie,
which is where we're traveling because the drums are taking us to Jumanji.
How was that a coincidence, David? Did you pull that year out of your head?
No, I knew. I was trying to get us on track here, trying to segue us back to the world of Jumanji.
We are back to the world of Jumanji. Yes, Jumanji did not start out as a board game. It did start out as a book that I think became. It's more well known as a movie. A lot of times adaptations, it's the book that everyone knows first, but I think the movie Jumanji kind of blew it up as a story. I've never read the book. Have you guys ever read it?
No, I remember.
This was the first time that I saw in the credits that it was inspired by a book. I straight up did not know that until recently.
So I'm looking at the Wikipedia entry for the book, and I actually remember seeing this book in my school library. I don't remember if I read it back then. I may have, just because I was like, oh my gosh, Jumanji. But I'm looking at this book cover and I remember this book cover of these like monkeys in the kitchen. So yeah, I have vague memories of it. I knew it was based on a book before this particular watch, but yeah, it's a book / movie about a board game that, is
magical board game. So in Jumanji stars, of course, the late, great, super great, amazing Robin Williams, a very young Kirsten Dunst, David Alan Grier, medium-aged David Alan Grier, Bonnie Hunt, Jonathan Hyde, and essentially Robin Williams gets stuck in the game as a kid, gets brought back out as an adult, however many years later, by Kirsten Dunst and her brother, and now they have to figure out how to contain the game again. Where do we begin? I think we all loved it as a kid. I watched Jumanji on tape over and over again. And what I found striking immediately, I'll just go ahead and say, is watching it now, the sadness of it kind of stuck out a lot to me.
This movie's very
extremely sad.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
To up until the end, I don't even find the ending particularly happy, despite what, and we could talk about it as we go through the plot, but it's so sad. And it kept distracting me almost because I never noticed that as a kid. But like, the way Bonnie Hunt is just this now neurotic woman who everyone thinks is crazy because of this experience, this traumatic experience she had as a kid. Obviously what Alan's character goes through. And then for some reason, the new kids have to have dead parents. I don't know why. Why is it that way?
It was the 90s, baby.
Tragedy after tragedy. Yeah.
It didn't. Their parents didn't need to be dead for this movie to work.
It was the 90s, baby. Everybody, orphan mania in the 90s. Everybody was an orphan or had a dead mom or had some sort of like, awful relationship with their parents. It was
There's also
it was orphan core back then.
There's also a whole thread line of the issues between a toxic father-son relationship. Like that is an incredible thread that is just honestly well done, in my opinion, throughout this entire movie. It's perfectly executed. Like this movie, from an adult perspective, looking at it, is a completely different type of good. While being still held up as a kid. Like I was thoroughly rewatching this again. This is the first time since Robin Williams has passed that I've been able to go back and watch this movie. It's not easy for me to go back and watch a lot of his movies because of the connection that he holds to my heart as a kid. As an adult, I mean, he was such an impactful human being. And so it was difficult to watch this, but really good because he can give you, and throughout his entire career, can give you the childness, wonder, and excitement, but also be able to deliver the seriousness whenever you need to and be believable in those transitions. And he does a really good job of acting in this movie and not just being a runaround kind of crazy buffoon like you see him in it as a kid. He is doing a really good job of acting in this movie.
Definitely. I mean, it was apparently one of those, I was doing some reading about the movie. It was a big concern from the director was that, Williams was known for being really improvisational, and he was worried that he wasn't going to be able to keep Williams on script, and it was going to make it difficult on set and difficult in editing. But Williams, after some rewrites of the initial script, he took it really seriously. And this might be one of his earlier, I'm not going to say his first, one of his earlier examples of him not really bringing the Robin Williams shtick to the character, but playing it more serious, playing it more like, a straight lace. Sure. There's some good Williams-esque zingers that do sneak their way in there, but it's not, Williams himself doesn't treat it like it's a vehicle for him. It's just a fun concept and a good movie it's a good family film. But yeah, likewise, I also watched this movie on repeat as a kid. I remember watching this a lot at my grandparents' house with my cousins. And it was one of those movies that just had that real sense of adventure for me as a kid. Like it just felt so like, even though it was very scary in a lot of ways for a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid, because of the big wasps, they were terrifying, the lions and stuff. But at the same time, it just felt like, oh my gosh, like, anything could happen. Anything could, what's going to happen next? The stampede scene always got me going crazy as a kid because like the book's all shifting off the thing. I was like, oh man, that'd be so cool to like run, and all that.
Yeah. What are some of our favorite game traps that come to life? Do you guys have any?
Well, I have some that stick with me really strongly. The Van Pelt, the hunter, used to scare me as a kid. He's too intense, and he has a big gun, and it's scary. And the
which also has weird context now.
Definitely.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
His whole arc in the movie has some very different context in 2023 versus 95.
Yeah.
The floor turning into quicksand also scared me.
Yeah.
One of those big moments of 90s quicksand scares that we had. No one talks about quicksand anymore.
No, quicksand's never used anymore. We got a rare quicksand moment in 65 recently.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, go listen to that review.
Yes. Or, do that instead of watching it.
Yes.
Those are a couple of mine.
I agree. The spiders as a kid terrified me. When they show up. One of my favorites, though, is not because of its initial appearance, but because of how it tops off a long-running gag throughout the film. That is the killer plants that emerge because they take over the house, or they take over the living room, then they take over the house, then they get out into the wild, right? And I just love the moment because David Alan Grier's car has been getting crapped on all movie, just beat to heck, monkeys stealing it, crashing it, things falling through the windows, it's shot at, got bullet holes, door gets ripped off. So he goes through all this and he gets out of the car to help the kid's aunt. And what happens? The vine, it slithers out, grabs hold of his car, folds it in half like a piece of paper and just rips it into the jungle. And David Alan Grier's stunned look on his face, followed by him just going, "Fine, take it." Just as a kid, it was the height of hilarity. I was like, "This is it. Society has peaked in this moment." Like
David Alan
Grier from here.
David Alan Grier gave a fantastic comedic performance in this movie. He is honestly one of my favorites. I grew up watching him on In Living Color, and his various movie career, and he had a show on Comedy Central that was short-lived for a little while. So like I've watched a lot of stuff that he's done, and he is just, I mean, this is one of his really just pinpoint performances where he is wherever he is, he really just shines and steals the show. And yeah, that moment where the car, that whole car, the fact that it survived that movie and everything that it went through, busting through the store and being able to survive the monkeys stealing it and shooting the gun through the top of it. I mean, every time that car went through something, it was hilarious to see him be able to still just like truck it along just barely until it was no more. That's great bit. What
about you? What about you, Gabe? Did you have any other specific favorite Conjurings?
No, not really. You guys covered the most of them. Again, the Stampede is also a great one, based on the rumbling of the books and in general, honestly, I was a little surprised by the effects that they had. They didn't look that great. But I honestly thought that the initial one of Alan getting sucked into the game held up pretty well. I thought that was pretty well done. But overall, no. I mean, I didn't, outside of the ones that you guys mentioned, no other ones really stand out to me.
Definitely. Yeah.
Go ahead,
I love that pokey little rhino, though.
Yeah.
At the end of the Stampede.
I was going to say another aspect of the game that scared me a lot as a kid was when he cheats and he turns into a wolf.
Oh yeah,
a werewolf.
A monkey.
Or a monkey. Or is it a monkey?
Yeah, he's like a little monkey.
He's some kind of scary.
Yeah.
And that bothered me. And that's another thing I noticed as a difference. Watching it as a kid, I remember being like, "No, you dummy. Why did you cheat? Now you're a monkey. This is so bad. You've screwed everything up." And now I watch it and I thought he did what he had to do.
Yeah, he was trying, man.
And I'm sad. Now I'm sad about the other things that I wasn't. And now I'd have cheated too. That freaking magic game.
Yeah, I felt very scared as a kid when he started transforming into a monkey. It was what do they call it? It's body horror, He just like his fingers are all hairy all of a sudden. He's growing a tail, his face all deformed. You know what terrified me as a kid as well was when he goes, the board game is in a car and he goes to get the car and an elephant crushes the car around him. That gave me claustrophobia like to no end as a kid. And yet I watched it over and over. I loved the whole movie.
I also really enjoyed Kirsten Dunst's performance. She's great in this movie. I didn't really, again, I haven't really watched this movie since I was a kid. And I remember her talking about her parents' death, but her running like over the top tragic story of how her parents died really struck me this time in particular, because I don't think I've really ever picked up on that, because again, as a kid, I knew that she was kidding, but I never really processed what she was saying. And then how her aunt comes in at the back to be like, they were devoted parents and they loved her. That contrast I found really strikingly funny. And then when Alan Parrish came back and she was starting to make up a story about her dead parents again, and then her brother was like, no.
You know what I love is Peter is played by Bradley Pierce, who's also in Hook. He's one of the Lost Boys in Hook. So I remember as a kid recognizing him and thinking about, I loved the idea that this kid got to act with Robin Williams twice. I'm not sure which technically comes first. I think Hook came before Jumanji, but
Hook did. I was looking to see where this fit in Robin Williams' work, and Hook was a few years earlier. That is interesting, though. I did not know that there was a little Hook crossover going on there.
No, that's cool.
Very interesting. Did you know that there are some alternate histories where a few other actors were first considered to be in this movie.
I've heard this as well, and then I don't remember who it was. Somebody was like, "We demand Robin Williams," but who were the other actors involved?
So TriStar demanded Robin Williams, or they wouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And then Robin Williams read the script and said, "This sucks. I will not do it unless you rewrite it." So they rewrote it, and then he said, "Okay, it's better." But the first choice was Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks. Now that would have worked.
Tom Hanks probably would have worked. I don't
think
disagree.
1995, Tom Hanks could have worked.
Tom Hanks turned it down because he was filming Apollo 13. Right. So that was not a bad choice on his part.
No. Really.
And then Judy was auditioned for by Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, for Kristen Dunst's character, Julie?
For Kristen Dunst's character, yeah.
Also, that would have worked. That adds up.
And Sarah was almost Kirstie Alley.
See, now Tom Hanks and Kirstie Alley, that might have worked.
That could have worked.
That might have worked.
Mid-90s, that could have worked.
No problem with that.
Was that before or after that one movie they had together? They had a movie together in the 90s.
I don't remember when that came out.
You guys, I'll look and see.
There's Wikipedia also has a very long list of other actors who were considered for Alan Parrish, but it's so long that I don't think I believe it.
It's like, honestly,
Dan Aykroyd, Bruce Willis, Michael Keaton, Chevy Chase, Sean Penn. Like, no.
Every man over 30 was considered for the role of Alan Parrish.
That's what it sounds like. But they did. It does indicate that Tom Hanks was first choice.
I was thinking Tom Hanks I was thinking of Tim Allen and Kirstie Alley.
What was that, for richer or poorer?
Or was that the
richer or poorer?
Oh,
why the fact that I could pull that out is upsetting to me.
That was impressive.
You're really familiar. You said it's Tim Allen. You're really familiar with Tim Allen's filmography.
Well, he was a touch point of the 90s.
We are saving him for eventually. We will be doing September Allenberg, and we'll get around to that.
Tim Allenberg.
Yeah. September.
I don't hate it.
Brackets Allen.
No. Oh God.
I don't hate it.
All three of his biggest hits.
All three.
Well,
I was going to say we've already done the Santa Claus.
We already did
so we ain't doing it again.
Stories.
And the Toy Stories.
Yeah. Once you eliminate the Santa Claus franchise,
for richer or poorer,
the Galaxy
and
Quest.
Jungle to Jungle. We did that too, didn't we?
No, we haven't done.
Oh, that's right. We did the Brendan Fraser version.
Despite having a 2 in its title, it's not a sequel.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Yeah. So there you go. There's some other multiverses out there where we're talking about the Tom Hanks version of this movie.
Tom Hanks would have worked, but I do really think that Robin Williams. This was one of those movies as a kid that, like, Robin Williams was a very comforting presence in any film.
But it's great because when you look at this, where this came out in 1995. Robin Williams didn't need Jumanji. Like, if he didn't do it, he'd have still been the same.
Oh yeah.
He had so many other big hits during this period of time.
Yes. So, legacy well cemented by 95.
Yeah, for sure.
TriStar
needed him more.
Would you guys kept playing the game?
Kept playing the game?
If you saw somebody get sucked into a board game, would you keep playing or would you run away too? Because I genuinely don't know. I don't have an answer.
Well, I tell you, as a child, I probably would have run away. But I was thinking, as an adult watching this, like, I would have at least read the next thing first, maybe. It just I don't think I would have run without even trying to think about it.
Well, those bats came on her real fast. So
bats are scary.
Bats scared her out of the house, and so I can
never return.
Roll with that. To never go back, to never, she's just she called the cops, which is probably the best move to do. And they told her, yeah, this girl's lost her mind. But would I keep playing? I don't know, maybe. But yeah, I would be pretty freaked out if I was whatever they were, 10, 12 years old, and somebody gets sucked into a board game. You'd be like, F this board game, I'm out of here before I get sucked in here. What about you, Garrett? You gonna roll again?
I don't know. I have no idea. I genuinely don't. Once they get back as an adult, I think the resistance of playing is a little silly because you have to finish. And so I get the fear that they have, but like the faster you roll through that game, because realistically, if you can survive and you can just roll, everybody just roll fast, you might be able to get through it relatively quickly. The game itself is just rolling.
Yeah. The sort of conceit of the movie is that after each one, there's a little message that they then read, and then they like react to whatever's happening around them. But yeah, essentially, if they just you roll, and you know if they have to wait for the message, fine. But as soon as the message reads, roll again. You know, like let's get through. It's not that many spaces. They could get through it with like 6 good rolls.
Yeah,
but you know, constantly being harangued by these crazy animals, you know, and plants. So but it does seem like if you knew going in what you needed to do, you could probably get through it pretty quick and avoid some harm. What's crazy to me is that it is a time travel movie as well. This is the second movie this year we reviewed in which somebody travels from the 1960s to 1995, only to find it, you know, pre-dystopian. And that's pretty funny to me, is that the 90s, we had such a perception of the 90s as being basically a pre-dystopia with graffiti everywhere, and trash and old businesses going out, you know, and things like that. Kids no longer had respect for anybody. They're sarcastic to their parents now, all that. It was, it's quite a trip between this and Blast from the Past, but,
that's true.
It made me want to like try to create a list of movies that presented the 90s in this somewhat like things are getting bad times. I immediately thought of like Casper, but I couldn't remember any scenes outside of the house in Casper, which like you seeing the town or anything like that. So I couldn't remember if that was the case. But I feel like a lot of 90s movies, it was like graffiti and grunge and kids have no respect anymore and all that kind of stuff, especially kid movies.
I think it's the whole grunge movement kind of, and you know, there was a lot of reaction. I think we've talked about this in Mortal Kombat, to how violence is portrayed, and it was all about the children and everything's bad.
Yes,
you know. So any alternate reality that has to be bad must be graffitied. And you
got to remember that the directors who were making movies in the 90s had nostalgia for when they were kids, which would have been the 50s and 60s. Yeah. So, you know, obviously they were better times when kids could ride their bikes and get beat up by 4 other kids.
Right. Have either of you seen Zathura? The spin-off?
I have seen Zathura.
I've never seen it. I'm very intrigued.
It's pretty cool. It is a lot like Jumanji, but with more of like a sci-fi kick.
Right. And that's what I've gathered.
For a long time, I referred to the lead actor, because he was cropping up in other things, Josh Hutcherson. I just called him Zathura Kid for the longest time. Like he was showing up in the Hunger Games. I'm like, oh, they got Zathura Kid in this. This is gonna be great. What's happened to Josh Hutcherson? I haven't seen him in anything in a little while. But yeah, Zathura, it's fun.
I'll have to watch it. Maybe we have to do we'll do so many spin-off someday.
Yes, so many indirect sequels.
We can talk about that. It's directed by Jon Favreau, so I assume, you know, he's good. He's good. Mm-hmm. He's very good. Now it's also got Dax Shepard and Kristen Stewart in it.
It's one of Dax Shepard's best performances.
Well, there's a long list.
I know. I say that with all sincerity.
Right. Well, any other notes?
Did either of you play the game growing up?
No, I wanted to.
The game? Did you buy the game? Did you play the game?
Yes, and here's the problem. Monkeys don't come out.
You're going to say what I'm going to say, I think, and I may agree with you.
Well, that's my thing, is literally nothing can live up to the magic of Jumanji, so it's just kind of a disappointment at the end of the day, was how it was for me. I was like, the decoder's kind of interesting, although Garrett probably couldn't read it. Or could you? You couldn't.
It was difficult because, so if obviously the game, not real. And so you had cards, and the cards had like a little squiggly thing, and you had to put it under the thing in order to read the message. Once I got it through the thing, I could, but that whole squiggly thing was like, oh, what is happening here?
I remember thinking like, they couldn't even make it look like the board game from the movie. I remember being a little let down by that. It just didn't even look like it.
Yeah, I would be very intrigued.
They should re-release it.
They should. I think they have some new versions of it, but they should update it with some like digital stuff. Maybe they have. It's been a while. I would be interested to play it again just to see. But yeah, there's got to be some kind of I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of consequence thing that they enact that I just can't remember. If you draw cards and bad things happen, or is it just here's what happened? Okay, now move on. I can't remember.
Yeah, I feel like a kid brought it to school one time, like a show and tell or something like that, and we tried to play it, but like we couldn't. Like it just wasn't fun. So we just kind of like we played it for a few minutes, and then like before long, I was the only one playing it. I was like, okay, well, like yes, we're done.
Yeah,
everybody'd rather play with Power Ranger toys.
I think that's definitely an issue with the board game. This obviously inspired the 2 sequels. We haven't talked about them, but we can kind of talk about them real quick before we get into the review and the money of this movie. But inspired 2 sequels with Kevin Hart, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Karen Gillan, and Jack Black.
I want to talk about them so bad someday.
I know we really need to, because honestly, they are so funny on their own. Each one. Honestly, I think the second one is better than the first one. It's funnier, but they both do a really good job of setting up their own thing and also giving some a nice nod to the original without trying to play it. It was like, we're doing our own thing. We acknowledge the original one, and here's a nice way that we're doing it. And I really liked what they have done, and I honestly hope they do another one.
I do find them entertaining. We should definitely, we will check them out someday. I'll make that promise now. We'll find a month where we need 2 weeks filled out, and we'll fill in with Jumanji.
July.
The second one gets so mind bending on what exactly you're watching, because
so funny.
The whole concept is that you're watching characters, right, be transposed into new bodies. So you're watching those performances. Then from there, different characters get transposed into the same bodies, who then switch bodies throughout the movie. So you're like, this character has gone through an arc in 3 different people's bodies by the end of the movie. It's insane how they managed to keep any level of consistency with it. Awkwafina picking up right where Danny DeVito left off. You know what I mean? So anyway, we'll get into that another day. But yeah, they got really, really interesting with the Jumanji spiritual sequels, or indirect sequels, whatever you want to call them. As for this one, I, as a kid, wanted desperately for there to be another Jumanji, because it just seemed like a movie that you could have done another Jumanji and had Tom Hanks, you know what I mean, or whoever you wanted, because they get rid of the board game. Oh, something about this movie. I don't remember the last time I watched it. I have zero memory of the little cold open with 2 kids in the 1860s burying the board game. I have zero memory of that.
I need a prequel.
And it added I was like, that
Give
is
me
really
an 1860s Salem witch trials. Is that even that's not the right time? It's like the Salem witch trials were hundreds of years earlier.
Honestly, I think that could be a great way to take this franchise in like a different branch direction, but it be like a horror franchise, because clearly this game has got some history that is cursed and witchy and evil. And I would really like to see the origins. And you know what? I think you could tell that in a fun kind of horror movie. A
sort of family-friendly horror flick, kind of like what those new Goosebumps movies tried to do, where they're a little scary for kids, but not too scary that, your kids are going to be traumatized. That's what this was, this first Jumanji. It was a little scary if you were 5, but also really exciting, but also nothing else.
It's scary to me.
There's no blood. There's no, that I remember, there's not a lot of blood. There's he does get his lip cut open, there's no foul language or anything like that. So as a kid, it's a perfectly watchable movie while still being quite scary at times. And all they had is animals, some of them quite fictitious animals. I never seen mosquitoes that big. But anyway, yeah, it was, you could just, the board game just keeps popping up and new people get dragged into it, and you could have new things for them to dodge.
Established that the game can morph.
Yes.
Like it changes into a video, that's kind of what I love about how long they waited before a new one came out. Was they waited long enough for a cartridge video game to feel retro. So it felt old, but still updated from the board game. So yeah, what versions of a game could they make from, the 1800s or 1700s? Maybe it turns into just a purely card game or something.
I was going to say a D&D style game.
Ooh, D&D Jumanji.
Tabletop role play. You get sucked into the tiny board and you can look up and Mom, help us.
That would be fun.
Can't see you. And then what were the other kind of games we did this month? We did board games. We did video games. We did tabletop games. Anyway, yeah. And when, I don't know if they're done with these Jumanji remakes with Dwayne and Kevin and Jack and Karen, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And Joe and Nick Jonas.
I never heard.
I'm down for more. They haven't soured me yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's typical that these things would agree to a trilogy typically. And they were both very successful, so I don't see why they wouldn't.
But I think what was the last one? Was it pre-pandemic, the last one?
Yeah, 2017, I think. No. 2019. So yeah.
2019.
Barely,
so
barely pre-pandemic.
So, there's been time. We've recovered.
Yeah, let them welcome us back to the theater so we can watch their Jumanji 3.
I'll tell you what though, guys, watching this movie gave me super nostalgia for this time period. I wanted to watch all kinds of mid-90s movies after finishing it.
Well, how did this movie do in the mid-90s? Did it make money?
Oh, it did make quite a chunk of money, and I'll get into that. Before I do want to say
there is another Jumanji.
There you go. In the works.
Breaking news.
In the works. I was depressingly old when I figured out that the hunter and the dad were played by the same actor. I was like, oh.
Jonathan Hyde gives a great performance in both
Great
roles.
performance.
So hateable.
It's so hateable. Oh yeah, you're just so mad at him. And then when he and his son make up,
I hate him.
Oh, but
He's
love when
bad. He's a bad.
I'll tell you
man.
what, I'm watching it now though, and I'm like, oh, poor dad. At the end, not at the beginning when he's being a jerk. Because at first I was like, there's 5 kids out there. You're telling your son to go man up and fight 5 kids? That's too much.
He was a jerk at the beginning for sure.
But you know what? He apologizes, and you know what? They end up having a great relationship. He called him on Christmas. It was great. Anyway, so Jumanji debuted. You know what? It makes it really appropriate for the ending of this movie. Debuted the weekend of December 15th, 1995. It was a Christmas movie and a Christmas time movie.
Christmas time. Yeah, the other Jumanjis are as well. They kept with that tradition.
Yeah, coming out in the December months. Now, this isn't going to be a high debut here, but it debuted at the number 1 spot with $11 million, knocking Toy Story out of its perch that had been in for 3 weeks to that point. Toy Story came in number 2 with 10.9. Heat, starring Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, came in. I was going to do a quote from Heat, but I was going to mess it up. For barbecues and ball games, that kind of thing. Anyway, 8.4 million for Heat. Father of the Bride Part 2 came in at number 4 with 7.2, and at number 5, Sabrina brought in 5.5. Jumanji would go on to have a really good run with 100 million domestically, 162 million overseas for a worldwide total of 262.8. It is astounding that they didn't greenlight a sequel in the 90s. Now, maybe that's because there was no sequel to the book, and so they thought maybe they could pull it off with the Zathura being a spiritual sequel of sorts. But yeah, $100 million is great for 1995. It would end up being the number 7 movie of the year in the United States. Number 1 movie of 1995 was Toy Story, brought in 191 million. Batman Forever finished in the number 2 spot. Apollo 13. So Tom Hanks made the right choice there. And at number 4, Disney's Pocahontas, Disney's third best film of 1995, in my opinion. And number 5, you guys will remember this one. It's Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. Total. We have done 4 movies from 1995. We did Toy Story. We did Ace Ventura. We also reviewed The American President.
Oh Oh yeah, our election special.
The election night special. Go listen to The American President.
I enjoyed that movie.
I did too, honestly, and
it was very nice.
It was a good movie.
It's a good review from us too. I thought we had a good conversation about that.
It was a good conversation.
And then also Mortal Kombat 1995. We've also done a review for.
We did a for 95. Dang. Good at
the 90s.
So good run for 1995 with us. But that's it. So yeah, Jumanji, the number 7 movie of the year with 100 million domestic, 262 worldwide. I will throw it to the Letterboxd game.
All right. Well, we've got some reviews from Letterboxd here. These are pretty thoughtful reviews, I thought. Some of them are they're humorous still, but fairly thoughtful. The most popular one says 4 stars. The part where Alan asks if his parents are still around, and the guy is like, yeah, I see them now and then. They're over on Adam Street. And then he goes to Adam Street, and it's a cemetery, and they're dead. I would have gone back and punched that guy in the face.
No, that homeless guy living in the old shoe factory.
3.5 stars. Jumanji is a children's version of a horror movie in every sense of the word. And even more surprising than that, it's actually got a strong emotional core anchored by Robin Williams' terrific performance.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
4 stars. All the stars for Robin Williams and practical effects. Points deducted for embarrassing CGI monkeys.
They were not.
And finally,
they did not age well at all.
No.
4 stars. Is Jumanji supposed to be a kid's movie? Because if I'm 8 years old seeing this for the first time, I'd be freaking out. That alligator scene alone is straight out of Lake Placid. It was that scary.
It was terrifying. As people who were 5 years old when this movie came out, it was terrifying. It was terrifying but cool. You know,
terrifying but cool. Yes.
Who dares utter first?
3.7. 3.7.
Okay. We got a 3.7. 3.7. That's a tough call. That's a good one. I feel like that's a very strong guess. And I'm mad about it. Because you're daring us to go up into 4 territory.
I am. I don't think it's there, but I want it to be.
I don't either, but how low is the question?
Yeah. You want me to go next?
I don't care. We could just blurt it. 3.3.
Okay. Well, I was already planning on doing this, but I'm going to say 3.4.
Okay. So we had 3.7, 3.4, and 3.3.
Yeah.
We do have a winner. Not a direct hit, but we have a winner. This movie.
Well, we always have a winner.
No, eventually, but sometimes we have a tiebreaker. With 296,000 ratings, this movie is coming out to a 3.6, which means that Garrett is off by 0.1, making him the winner this week.
All right. What do you think? 3.6. Do we like that? Great. Congratulations, by the way, Garrett.
I do like that, actually. I think this is a pretty good score.
I'm not surprised. I think I can live with that.
I do too. If you have looked it up, way better than the Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie, which is I think 52%.
Disappointing, yeah. Rotten Tomatoes is disappointing.
Even the audience score is I think like 60-something%. But it's 3.6. I think I'm good with that. I think I would also, I think in the past I've rated this a 4.5, so I might stick with that. I think for today I'm going to say a 4. I'm going to say 4 stars.
4 for you. It's a 4 for me as well. That's exactly how I put it on Letterboxd.
Wow, I'm surprised because here's the deal. If I gave my this is what I've been thinking, and I've struggled with this because last week I gave a very enthusiastic 4.5 for Ready Player One.
Yes.
And I agree by my excitement by that movie, but I can't sit here idly and say that Ready Player One is a better movie than Jumanji. So in that spirit, this is a 5-star movie for me.
Wow.
I'm honestly a little surprised too. Wow. I'm honestly a little surprised too, but like the way that this movie really held up for me, and I won't deny there's a lot of nostalgia in there, but the way that this movie held up, not only as like what I expected to just be a fun action adventure kid movie, but like the actual storytelling and especially the story between the father and the son, and the difficulty of the relationship with that, and the difficulty of actual father-son relationships because of how that particular relationship is usually stereotyped, especially during this time period. I think it's really, really well done. And I think it's a really good story that people should watch for that particular messaging if you can get past the super fun and exciting aspects of it as well. So again, I can't sit here and say that this movie's not deserving of a 5 stars if I gave Ready Player One a 4.5. So,
I truly do believe sometimes you give the movie a score based on if it succeeds at what it's meant to be. And if the intention of this movie is to be a exciting, thrilling, scary movie for kids, it excels at every level of that. So it's 5 stars, and I agree with that. But I'm going to give it a 4. based on my so Garrett, that actually puts you alone in second place. Right now it's me with 7, Garrett with 5, Josh with 4, and Andrew with 2. Guests
and a guest with 1.
Arch right now with 1, but I'm gonna compile all of our guests throughout the season. They'll have a collective score.
Yeah, we got a couple spoilers in the mix there. Well, this is officially the end of game night month.
We should have come up with a better name. By
the time we got to the end, it's too late. It's too late.
We could have called it April.
Yeah, but game night month is at least
what
specific theme.
Yes. You know what it means.
You know what it means. You don't know what April means.
April, yeah.
This month is May. We don't have a theme for May, I don't think.
No, not since Matrix. Have we had a theme? We did Matrix already, though.
Did we call it that?
I'm pretty sure we called it Matrix, yeah.
Oh, I don't remember it that way, but...
Or Matrix May.
Anyway, we don't have a theme for May, but we do have a whole month of new episodes for you, including some new movies that we're really excited about. So be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcasting app so that you get those when they come out. You can also go to somanysequels.com and find links to subscribe to us there and our social media.
He's so excited.
Yeah. live web.
There you go.
I'm leaving it.
We're recording this to live.
Yeah, live to tape, as they say. So anyway, somanysequels.com. You can find links to our social media channels and where we're at on other apps and our back catalog of all our other episodes. You can find all that there. So be sure to subscribe and follow us on all those places. We'll see you all next time. Bye.